Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for you on Survivor 46, Episode 9. My name is Kahuna, and I'm very happy to be joined by young Master Jake here. Welcome, Jake. How you doing?
Doing good. In a new place, as you can see.
New backdrop there.
Yeah, new apartment that I'm in. It's been great.
Congratulations, man. New
Thanks.
place, out on your own, living life. I like it.
Yeah.
The unfortunate downside of this is that we're not going to have your fellow co-host coming in and out every now and then.
No, but there is another co-host right here.
Yep.
If my desk wasn't so cluttered, I think he would want to jump up and walk on the keyboard in front of the camera, but there's just nowhere for him to jump up. So he's settling for the back.
It'll just be a pretty background picture. Yeah. We are, of course, going to be talking about Survivor 46 today. Unfortunately, we're not joined by Chris. Our man Chris is still in the process of traveling. I actually got to meet him last night, which was really, really cool to meet him in person. So he's actually from Melbourne. He came up to Sydney for a Spartan race, which why? I don't know. But he does that sort of thing. And I don't know if anyone in chat is very interested, but he apparently said, we sort of met up. I said, how'd you go? Because he hasn't done any Spartan racing in years because of injury. And this is like his intro back. He wants to get back into that crazy white person sport. And it really is, right? Like that.
Right.
That's it's definitely like a white person sport to do. And he's like, I want to get back into it. So he's been out of it for so long. He's sort of taking it easy. And he said he came 28th, overall in his event or something like that. 23rd third for his age, 23rd for his gender. He's like, yeah, I haven't done it in years. I didn't even know if I'd be able to. He said he was sick leading up to it. And then he goes, okay, third for his age in the event, 28th overall out of 500 or something.
Clearly, he needs to do some more training because that's just
pathetic. Yeah. Chris is he's a big dude, deceptively big. It doesn't come across. I don't know if it's his camera angle or whatever it is, but he's 6 foot at least, and he's thick. I always thought of him as a little bit slighter, but he's a dude, and we got to meet last night, so it was fun.
He's a dude.
He's a dude. Now, one thing that before we actually start talking about the episode, let's send a quick shout out to everyone in the chat that is so eagerly discussing what is turning out to be a pretty good season so far. But of course, we have Kiwi Skirt. As always, welcome again, Kiwi Skirt. Gabe, this season become cast who hate each other and are wacky. Yeah, man, this is a fascinating turn of events for a lot of people on this season, and we got to discuss it all. Daryl's here. He's saying Charlie's a beast, challenge beast. Yeah, Charlie's showing everyone. Chris, of course, welcome. JE. Well, after people complain about Eric and they're talking about the edit, because people in the chat were discussing who they think might win this season. We got a lot of Kenzie love going on. A lot of things like that. We got Carlene here to feed them something. So this is all the pre-episode discussion because we, of course, needed a few minutes. But we got Nunez in the chat. We got everyone here this morning. Thomas McGee's here. So, yeah. And we even have a comment from a young Jake Jesperson.
Who's that?
So welcome, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for putting up with me today. No, Chris, I'm sorry about that, but he'll be back next week. Now, the one thing that I'm happy about, Jake, because I need a little bit of good news this morning about Survivor turning good, because we had such a horrible start to the season. It's getting very entertaining now, and I need that today because I'm pretty sure in about an hour and a half, my Lakers are going to be swept in the first round.
Oh,
your sons aren't looking good either, mate. So let's leave that aside.
We could turn this into a basketball podcast if we wanted to, just crapping on our
Just
teams, but
lamenting.
we won't.
Just
So I'm with you. I'm with you.
yeah. That's just
I get it.
the Suns will put that as KD is just I don't know what not enough against
I don't
Minnesota
know.
apparently, but Lakers not doing it. So we can root for him, we can barrack for him, we can get behind Survivor players. And we start this episode 9, with like the fallout from what we saw as one of the most chaotic, crazy tribals last week. And when we say the fallout, usually it's like after tribal, it may be the first, like the cold opening. Well, it's not really cold opening, but the first opening before the credits, and then we get maybe a little bit to transition to the next bit or whatever. This went on for like 15 minutes of the episode, where it was all like, I know you're a lot younger than me, but I don't think it's that old. But Chris Rock used to have a sitcom on TV. It was called Everybody Hates
Oh,
Chris.
of course I remember. Yeah.
Man, that's Q now. Everybody hates Q.
Yeah.
And we just got 15 minutes of like the entire tribe just shitting on him relentlessly. It starts out with Kenzie confronting Q, tells him that he can't just leave without a vote. If she said, you can leave without a vote if you want to. She's like, go. I don't like, if you want, just walk out. Like, what are you doing? Tiffany screaming at him to the point where like Venus and Liz are like, oh, they're having a family domestic over there. Bit of screaming and shouting. Like Venus loved it. She's relishing in it, calling him a
Oh,
pariah.
yeah.
Like, and then we even get Liz pissed off at him because she worked her ass off for the for the
That was
Tevin
a
vote.
great montage of Liz being like, nobody's even talking about my amazing move to take out Tevin. And then it just cuts to like everybody talking only about Q being insane. Oh my gosh. Poor Liz.
Have you seen like so much concentrated 100%? Everyone's on the same page. Well, not everyone, because Maria isn't jumping on the Q hate, but man,
Mhm.
like people were upset by this. I haven't seen this kind of level of like unified hate towards one person. Like, what did you think of the
This is
fallout
this
from
is
this?
even this is even worse than last season when Bruce got voted out with an idol, and people literally cheered when that happened. There were people clapping at him walking out, and this is still worse than that. It's wild. I mean, I can you blame them? I mean, that was just ridiculous. I mean, we already kind of talked about this last time, so we won't bring it up again. But like, I mean, it's just so infuriating if you're trying to work with him and he's in your plans, and he just drops that on you at tribal council. I mean, I think everybody's perfectly justified, and honestly, I appreciate people just being straight up with him, like Kenzie being like, "I'm not working with you," like just telling him straight to his face, "I am not working with
Yeah,
you."
I don't even know if I've ever seen that in Survivor. Like,
Definitely
just to
haven't seen it
straight up
like in the
say
new
to someone's
era.
face, yeah,
Yeah,
like she had not even try to keep him, like even to keep the crazy person calm, to not like, you know what I mean, just to
yeah.
you're gonna vote them out, but I'm just not gonna
I think, yeah,
pour any fuel on the Q fire. They're
I
just
think what
done.
the big thing was when he tried to turn her against Tiffany, which is funny because Kenzie ended up wanting to vote out Tiffany, but I think she might have felt insulted of like, you just turned on both of us and now you're like trying to bring up like a gotcha like thing about Tiffany to me, like trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make you turn on
man,
her. She's like, don't insult me. Like I'm not working with you. I'm not trusting anything you
just
say.
get out of my face. Like,
Yeah.
man, it's, although I want to point out, I don't, I don't do, or I probably would do this a lot if it happened more, but I'm not right very often, Jake. But I do want to say the reason for Q, I called it last week. I said, I think he's genuinely just doing the honorable thing and he's going to take it on the chin because
Yeah.
he made a mistake. There was no this was a strategy. This was, part of my plan. I said, like, I think he's just that dude. Like, he's that guy that's going to I messed up, cop my punishment and move on from there. Like, which is interesting because so many people, including Jeff, said he thought it was strategy, right? Like, why would Jeff come out
Yep.
and say that when it clearly
Very weird. Yeah, Jeff came out and
wasn't?
said that he felt like these quits were different than the quits we saw last season, and I actually like completely disagree. I think that Q, I think, is lying to us when he says that it was like trying to be honorable. I think that he messed up, and he's like, I don't really want to deal with the repercussions of this mistake. And I think he was, trying to take the easy way out. Kind of like Ben was saying, the gist was like the real honorable thing to do would be to stay in and try to atone for your mistakes, or like, I guess it's cowardly, I think, to try to take this way out when you
Ben
mess up.
said so. Ben
Yeah.
said he's a coward. Ben, who is the ultimate vibes guy, today in this episode, by the way, he said outwit, outplay, outshred. Holy crap. Ben is
Incredible.
like he's a character. He told Jeff he does not rock. And he also, I think, maybe worse than anything anyone said to Q, at least in Ben's mind, it must have been the ultimate insult. He called him a poser. Like,
That's
to someone like Ben, that's like,
yeah, in Ben's sphere,
yeah.
that's really bad. Like like you don't wish that on your worst enemy, to be called a poser
Nah,
in,
man.
Ben's circle.
So I thought that was Ben is like, he doesn't do much. He just drops
Mm-mm.
these lines every now and then, which just makes me
I like him.
smile. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love him as well, but not for any like actual gameplay. It's for
Yeah,
every wacky thing he throws at the camera,
I know. I know. I think that he wants to be included, but he
Yeah,
doesn't. As far as we know, he doesn't really come up with things on his own. It's more
not
so
that we've
like,
seen.
yeah, not that we've seen, but he does. He likes to be in on the party whenever people are trying to make stuff happen. He likes to be there.
So all this like vitriol towards Q, absolutely 100% deserved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
I
do
mean,
appreciate that you gave it the thought, and yeah, like, no, yeah, it
yeah,
100% is. um,
yeah.
I did see a comment a second ago. I think it was Daryl. Someone said if someone causes as much chaos as Q, I'm keeping him as an ally straight away. Where was it? I just lost the comment. Oh, here it is. Daryl. When people have a unified hate for someone, I would use that person as a number instantly. People aren't thinking that way. Maria is. Maria sort of looks like she's getting along well with Q and may actually use that to her advantage, but everyone else is letting right now the emotions of that tribal really sort of affect their choices in gameplay, because I know how they feel about him, but really, like, coming into this episode, we said last week it was 3-3-3, right?
Yep.
Q, Kenzie and Tiff, if they're like 100% Q's done, it's dead, we're not working with him, whatever. They're down to 2 as well, right? After this episode, Nami, who blew a commanding lead, by the way, coming into the merge,
Wow. Yeah.
they're down to 2. They had 5. They had 5 out of 6 coming into merge, and they're down to 2,
It's wild.
right? They did 3 in a row, 3 Namis in a row. Like, I
In
don't,
the
and then the
final
left
two of all of
Venus
them,
and Liz.
Venus and Liz.
Oh,
What an
so
incredible,
yeah,
what an
and then we
incredible
have
final.
Sega, which everyone was saying was the Vibes tribe.
Hmm.
Now with looking like the closest, not only working relationship, but even with Ben in there as well. Like, it turns out they were right. Like, the numbers didn't matter. It was the relationships that actually stronger, because Yanu is in tatters. Q is like gone. Kenzie and Tiff voted separately in this episode. I don't know if that was planned or not. I'm wondering if that was a thing, but we'll talk about that in trouble. But
Yeah.
yeah, like the numbers here are looking Sega's way. Ben, who doesn't do much, getting Vi on vibes, is actually looking well. And then we have who we thought were looking good only a couple of weeks ago, Hunter and Q, completely persona non grata right now. They had nothing in this episode. Q, being the ultimate, like, I guess, weirdo, tries to spin everything positive. He says, now that I don't have anyone working with me, I'm off the leash. I can play the game Q wants to play. And we all know, Jake, that in Survivor, the best way to play this game is completely alone with no alliances. No
Yeah.
one to,
Of course.
yeah. Everyone
Yeah.
against you, everyone hating you is usually one of the best positions to be in.
Yeah, it's the ideal scenario for somebody at final. What is this, 8?
Final 8 now, yeah.
Yeah,
Like you
completely
don't need.
ideal. Q's probably the front runner right now, right?
He'd have to be. He'd have to be.
Oh my gosh! But I think seriously. I know we kind of said this last episode too, but if Q ends up winning this, I mean, it's got to be up there with one of the best winners we've seen.
I know this is probably gaming it too hard, and I always recognize that there's a big difference between what you can do in theory and what it's like living on an island with these people and putting up with these people and tamping down your annoyance and your emotions and your feelings just to gamebot the strategy is very difficult. We say it out here because we're podcasters and we can sit in our lounge room and watch it and use the edit to all that sort of thing, right? But surely I would be, like Daryl said, the way Q is with these people right now, I'm taking him to the end with me as much as I possibly can. I want to sit next to that man for the 0 vote finalists, right?
Yeah, I think that is, theory, that is great. But I mean, we saw what Q did. I mean, if Q is the type of guy to just be like, I'm out. Like
Yeah.
if something goes wrong, so if like I don't think you can rely on him, and I think that Maria's sort of the girl who sees this guy and is like, I can fix him, but everyone else is like, he's broken, he's irreparably broken, it's over, we're not even gonna try.
You know what I would love? Bring him to the final tribal council, and at final tribal, and they say, Q, present your case. He's like, I don't think I should get it. Give it to this person, please. Everyone, just give them $1 million here. I'll walk out. I'll snuff my own torch, Jeff. Like, he'll just take over and say, I'm done. Give it to them. They deserve it. Like, I can imagine him doing that.
I could too, and I mean, if Maria can get him to the end, it would be great. That, because
Yeah.
I think that's honestly possible that he's like starts making the case for the person sitting next to him, because I don't think he's such a weird combination of like somebody that like talks about playing with honor, but then like he's lying to people. He's trying to vote out his closest ally from day one.
Yeah.
He is completely willing to just walk out of the game. Him in a tribal council at a final tribal council, I seriously
He
think
was
we
voting for
could
Hunter. He was trying to get it on Hunter this episode as well. Like,
the
he is
the
absolutely.
the spectrum of like what he could pitch at final tribal council could literally be from advocating for the person next to him, or like literally making one of the most compelling cases we've ever seen, because he can sometimes take over a room and like kind of sweet talk. I think he's a real estate agent. Sales. Chris would be this would be the cue for Chris to be like, salespeople.
So he'll get
just
him
like me. Yeah.
They're undefeated. So after 15 minutes of everybody hates Q, we go straight to the immunity. There's no like other camp scenes beyond just the fallout, and then straight into
Well,
immunity.
I will say there is Venus not only eviscerating Q, but also Hunter, calling them dum dums and meatheads. And
in about 30 seconds, she got dum dums, meatheads, and something else that was just like, wow. Like, it's hard to believe that she's kind of not really liked on the island, eh?
yeah, I can't really see why.
No one wants to
When
work with her for some reason.
when Hunter said, you're really unlikable. We all find you unlikable. I went, really? What? It's the first time seeing this.
That relationship is so strained, eh? Like he's just
Oh my
got
god.
Hunter can't hide it either. He's not very good at like keeping that down,
No, and I
especially
mean,
considering his position.
yeah, I mean that's too. It's funny. I think Tevin has probably already successfully convinced Soda at Ponderosa that the move was not Venus; it was him.
Yeah.
So I think we're
100%.
pretty safe to say at this point 3 jurors probably that are just straight up not going to vote for Venus if she gets there. I mean,
So if we look at the combinations that could get there, for me the best one would be if we saw some of the teams in the next immunity challenge. So we got to the immunity challenge, and the twist was because apparently they just love small tribes again. 3 teams of 3, where no one wants Q, and the loser group gets him. It's Venus, Liz, and Q. Imagine
that's our
that
final
as
3.
the final 3.
That is our final 3. Liz is and Liz would probably win that. Probably.
Holy crap! Who would win that? Because
I think Liz.
But is she invisible to them? Like they don't. No one knows. No one thinks she's
No,
done any moves.
I think that people. I know that at the beginning of this episode, she was like, nobody is realizing that I just made this move. I think they do. I think they know, but it's just not being talked about. But they know in the back of their head that she was the one who did. So it's like, okay, she did something. Whereas Q also did things. He was sort of the one that got Tim out. He was the one who got the 6 alliance together, but then he tried to quit. And that's and then Venus is Venus.
So Liz, she would get up, right? And Gabe mentions it here. Hilarious that final 3, billionaire Liz. So she'd get in her final speech and talk about how rich she is.
I really think that this might be a hot take, but I think that it might be compelling to some people for somebody like Liz at the final tribal to be like, hey, yeah, I'm rich, but I didn't come out here for the money.
She'll say it
I didn't come out.
I'm rich.
Well, but she's already said it multiple times to them, but I don't need this money. I didn't come here for the money. I came here for the title. I wanted to win Survivor to say that I won Survivor. She's going to, for somebody like Charlie, you think that Charlie would have come out here for free? Of course he would. Would I go out there for free? Absolutely. It's Survivor. If you have the opportunity to play, you play. You want to win. To say that you won, to prove it to yourself or prove it to other people or whatever. I think that's why Liz is playing. And I think that might be a compelling case to some people. So I don't like when people just dismiss anybody with money. But I do. I mean, we'll say that, Liz always talking about her money. That's off-putting to people. That just makes her less likable. But if you can be likable and have money, then
sure,
you can win. Yeah.
And maybe not mention it constantly,
yeah, that's the worst part. It's not the fact that she has money, it's that she talks about it too much.
I would, knowing what the cost of living crisis that we're in currently and how difficult it is to spend, I would find it incredibly difficult to give a multimillionaire $1 million, regardless of whatever sitting next to whatever anyone sitting next to her has done.
They gave it to Gabler.
Yeah.
Gabler. Yeah. I mean, Gabler's not as far as I know, is not as rich as Liz, but he's definitely doing very well for himself.
Especially that
he gave it to charity. If Liz is like, hey, I don't need this money, I'll just give it to charity. I think she could win.
That's the approach, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I am rich. I've told you that 1,000 times. You all know that. In fact, I'm so rich, I'm not going to keep the money. Mm. I'm going to donate it to charity. And if anyone in this Final Tribal Council sets up a charity, I may be donating that money towards a particular charity. Gabler said he gave it to charity. I know you can't say you're going to share the money with any other contestants, right? But
Mm-hmm.
but you can give it to charity because Gabler set that precedent. So if you
Yep.
say, "Hey, do any of you have a charity?" Wink, 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 wink.
Yep.
That's the only way
Q
for a rich person.
Q Q is starting up a charitable foundation for kids without Q skirts. All proceeds would go towards buying children who are cold at night and don't have proper heating sources so they can wear their Q skirts.
Oh, I just remembered this comment here. No, this one, sorry, from Gabe. Earl was a successful businessman that beat a homeless cheerleader coach in jobs.
Oh no. Yeah.
Oh no. That's
Yeah.
funny. The other thing is, like, if Liz is a millionaire, right, and super rich, someone pointed out the Q skirt. Q's gonna be one, right? So he's a future billionaire because of the Q skirt.
Mhm.
So maybe he
Yep.
doesn't get any like that. That makes his case worse because he's like, I've got the Q skirt. Everyone's gonna buy it. I don't need the $1 million.
Right. That's so true. They're gonna be like, why should we give you the money? You're already gonna be rich
You
one
got the
day
Q
anyways.
skirt.
With
Yeah,
this
you're gonna be richer than
brilliant
Liz.
idea. Yeah.
And Liz is like, hey, I can do the email marketing for the Q skirt. Right.
And then Venus wins because they're like, you guys are both rich, so we're just gonna give it to her.
There you go. We've figured it out. We got
figured
it.
out. Wait, do we even need to do any more podcasts? We already know how it ends now.
Oh no, I think it's falling apart. Because look what Kiwi said. If you have a hoodie, then you have a Q skirt. Why would you buy one?
No, it's different.
Okay. We've got distracted with this final three, and just you know what though? It's these characters. There's been such sloppy, loose gameplay. There's no one left there's a couple people left in the game that seem to have anything going on upstairs as far as strategy goes, but they're just matched with the people that don't. And this, like, it's almost like even numbers. When we talk about that final three, like we're calling it like it's actually the final three, which I think is hilarious. But Q, Venus, Liz, and then Ben, right? I mean, Venus and Liz are trying, I guess, but I don't think they're respected in the same way. And then you have Kenzie, Tiff, Maria, and Charlie, who all seem pretty competent up against like the ragtag, like non-respected, not like group. So the fact that it's 4-4, we could get some crazy makeup at the end. Is it the 4 people that are actually good at the game or look like they're good at the game who can take over the other 4? Or is it the 4 ragtag bunch that are like, the B team? Can they take out the A squad, which I think is so funny? Like, what a really interesting dynamic of the makeup we have left here.
People at the top are already trying to get each other out. I mean, people are turning on their closest allies. I think that there's going to be a couple of those ragtag folks at the end. I would put money on that.
So we did end up with that final 3. I love that. I'm just really praying and hoping that is the final 3 because it would just be the perfect cap on what has been a wacky, insane season. But in the mini challenge, Hunter, Maria, Charlie, Tiff, Ben, and Kenzie, and the way they were sort of put into teams is that there was given up. The choice was theirs. They all decided no one wants to be with Q, and it kind of ended up that way. No one wants to be with Liz. No one wants to be with Venus. And Jeff was curious about this. He questions them, the makeup of the teams. How did you actually come up with the makeup of the teams? And they said, we just did it casually. Mm-hmm. And Spicy Jeff is the name of this episode because he freaks out here. He's like, what are you talking about? Your life is on the line. How do you just do it casually? And like I don't know what you want to do.
Because we hate Q, Jeff.
And then it turns into almost like a mini tribal on the mat as well, where it's like, oh, it's season 2 of Everybody Hates Q. Let's start talking about that.
Yeah.
Where they even try to do it like without mentioning names at the start. And Q
He
says,
who
they
must
might
not
be
be
talking about
named. Yeah.
me. Yeah. Q's like, they might be talking about me, Jeff. And just like, they're 1000% talking about you.
Yeah. No, he doesn't
And
even get to say it. It's Jeff who's like, it's pretty obvious we're talking about Q. And then Q's like,
they
yeah,
might be,
yeah, they're talking about me. Yeah.
which is
Really
so
good.
good. Jeff,
I'm
and
liking
then,
Jeff this season. I'm really liking Jeff this season.
well, then he doubles down on being Spicy Jeff and calls, he goes, Q, Venus, and Liz, no shot. You're not winning this. I'm calling my shot now. He like Babe Ruth it.
I'm just saying what everybody else is thinking. You know, it's like,
What did you
okay,
think of
Jeff,
that? Have you
wow.
ever seen Jeff do this?
Never seen him do this.
That is
Never.
crazy. I would have been so like it's not even like they were all starting on even zero. It's not like they had come into it with the disadvantage beyond who is on the team. There's no like advantage for the other team where he could make this call, or like you're starting with a 10-point advantage, anything like that. It was straight, and he just says no chance. Which, by the way, I was a little bit annoyed at that, not because I was offended on their behalf, because I thought the same thing, to be honest with you. But I did think, oh, if they left that in the edit, they're not coming last.
Mm. So you
Like, I
knew they were
thought it was a
gonna.
little bit of a spoiler alert just for the outcome of that specific immunity challenge. I didn't necessarily think that they would win, but I was like, why? Yeah, and which was a bit of a shame, but
They almost did.
they almost did. They almost did.
Yeah.
Liz, what did you think of the challenge overall? It was set as three sort of parts where
Stages. Yeah.
three stages where after each stage, one of the teams would then drop out to then go to the final immunity challenge where it was individual. We had obstacle course throughout, and the first one was like pretty decent, walking over the balance beams, carrying the ball with the sticks. We've seen that stuff before, and then doing the hoops, like putting the ball on the hoop. And by the
Yeah.
way, I love that Q was like just straight up doing jumpers. Like he had the full like the follow
Yeah.
through and everything. It's not the approach for that, right?
Nope.
Like it,
Nope.
it was just going way over. The arc was like,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. He
and
did it like 5 times in a row. It's like, dude, all right, how are you not getting that this isn't working?
come on, coach. Like
Yeah.
he's not.
Make
He
it
wasn't
make
saying
an
no.
adjustment, coach. Come on.
He's like full on putting. He's like, oh, it's pretty. It's so pretty. I just might leave it up there, kind of thing. But so they ended up coming in second. Essentially, we get to the final stage, and the individual immunity. Charlie, Hunter, Maria, and Charlie here really sort of coming through. Like for me, not necessarily unexpected, but I thought Hunter had this one down. You know.
Yeah, I mean, me too. And then at the end, I was just like, shouldn't really be that much of a surprise. I mean, Charlie is pretty in shape. He did like cross country in college. He gave Hunter a run for his money last episode, so shouldn't have been that crazy. But yeah, I think the sort of common knowledge was Hunter's just going to sweep everything that he has the chance to, you know, and he almost did. He almost took this one, but good for Charlie
Yeah, absolutely. What did
redeeming
you think?
himself from.
Could you do this endurance challenge?
It is such a. I had never done anything like that in my life. I really don't know. I like to think that I have pretty okay endurance, especially now. Like I used to be much more out of shape for a while, and then I started to actually, start working out again. And I like to, try to push myself. But I mean, I think my feet would just be on fire, and I hate that.
I
But
like.
just, standing in one spot, I think, isn't that much of an issue. I think that I can be sort of zen if I'm just like, I'm on Survivor. But the pain would get to me. I think that what drives some people crazy is just the act of just sitting still for however long.
I like that when Jeff was asking what's hurting, is it starting to hurt, and they're all in pain. It looked incredibly painful to me. And he
Yeah.
asked Charlie, and Charlie like is in the midst of some agony. He's like heals. That- so
Yeah,
when
that
you
was
said the feet would hurt, I was like, I mean, Charlie knew that
yeah.
for sure, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if Maria was like, yeah, everywhere. Yeah, my
Everything,
whole
and
body
and
hurts.
Charlie's like heals.
It
That
looks
was
really
so
painful.
good.
And one thing that somebody pointed out on Reddit that I saw was last episode with the holding onto the pole that Hunter won.
Yep.
Jeff made this whole thing about you guys are lasting way less than people in past seasons. Go back and look at those past seasons where they did this challenge. The footholds are so much
So
bigger. It's
yeah,
crazy. They
right.
are so tiny in this one, and this is backed up by people. I think like Rob Sesternino has said, like he knows that they do not want these long challenges. They don't like them.
I was
The
gonna
production
say, like
team,
this
yeah,
one, they put the restriction that you can't move. There's no
yeah,
bending knees for. He said it gives relief. There's no relief, and I was like, did someone schedule this? Like, is Jeff just getting to the point? He's like, I'm not gonna be out here for hours, guys. I'm 10 minutes and I'm done. I'm
and
60. Like,
what
what are we doing?
what what apparently broke them into doing this was in David versus Goliath when they had that long challenge with Christian where he started just talking and talking and talking, and it was driving everybody crazy. That went on for like 5 hours, if I'm remembering right, and they just hated it. Everyone involved really just kind of hated it. The people who were out early and they were just like sitting and just waiting, they were hating it. Jeff was not really having it, but it made for a fun little moment, with Christian, but they just didn't really like that experience, and I've heard that sort of prompted them to change
I hate that though, because
challenges. I know, yeah,
like I understand that was like incredibly painful. Like this is literally the form of execution that the Romans used for centuries. And there's a very famous person that was a pretty famous person that was put to death using this method. So this is essentially a crucifix,
that's
right?
true.
That was this way instead of that way.
Hmm.
But that was a
No
crucifix.
nails
Or
as well. No
no
nails.
nails.
Yeah,
But I think
I
that
think that
like
makes it
that's
a little
essentially
bit
what it
better.
was.
Yeah, no, but
But
there are like exercises um, that I used to do when I did sports in high school called the crucifixion, and it was terrible. It
right.
felt like torture for a reason.
Yeah,
I think the
that's what it
name
is.
was
But
there for a reason.
the show, like YouTube Bearcat said, the challenge messed with the filming schedule. They're like, look, we got catering. Catering's at 12. Who started this at 11? Who started this?
Yeah. Well,
What?
and it's
Like,
probably even worse now that they only have 26 days.
yeah, that's
So
true. They're
yeah,
like squeezing everything.
yeah,
But to me, the show is called Survivor. One of the things is called Outlast, right? Like, why are they doing 5 minute challenges? Like, where people are dropping off in 20 seconds and stuff. The
yeah.
thing
And then
about
I just hated how Jeff was like lambasting them for it. It's like you guys made it harder. Like you can't compare.
way harder,
Yeah,
way harder.
yeah,
Like, someone said here, who was it? Yeah, yeah, YouTube Aircat again. Production made the heel rest shorter and the butt and shoulders need to be pressed to the pole. Yeah,
yeah.
they made
And
that
all the
restriction.
challenges are harder. So
They're just making them
but
way harder because I think Jeff's just like, I don't want to be out here for hours. It's hot.
yeah,
Like when you look at the on camera as well, there's no shade anywhere. Actually, this episode he was standing in the shade. Like
was
I
he?
noticed he was a little bit back towards the tree. I was like, for a
They
little bit
probably
anyway. There's a
planted.
couple times where he was
They
calling
probably
out.
planted that tree specifically for him, just so he could have it.
Man. But Look, anyone in the chat that had a pool going or a bet going, how long it takes before I compare it to Australian Survivor? With 40 minutes. I don't know if you win the bet or
See,
not, but
was there somebody at the
Australian
beginning? I think
Survivor
was
will
talking about it.
was it
I
Australian
think
Survivor will let them
maybe.
stand there for hours. I know it's not the final immunity challenge, like to go into the final thing, but Australian Survivor will let them hang there. Like, yeah, you can get relief, you can keep your back off, you can bend your knees, but you're gonna be up here for hours. And as much as I know it is painful, even that 10 minutes would have been excruciating. It makes for a better television product. We can show in where they have the what is it called, time lapse of the clouds going, the sun moving across the sky, and it starts getting darker, and things like that. Like 10 minutes is just not enough time to get for the person sitting at home to go, oh, that must be brutal. Like, I know it was brutal because Charlie's heels were really hurting, but when he says it and your brain goes 10 minutes, like, when they go, you've been up there for 3 hours, you go, holy crap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why they're trying to water it down. Not even just a bit, like so significantly, to
Hmm.
go from challenges that last literal hours to go ones that last 10 minutes. Like, it, it's so, anyway,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
understand
it's
it. I
it's
don't
brutal.
understand it.
Yeah.
Um, So post challenge, Charlie wins. There's no. By the way, this could have also been one maybe with a bit of a reward. Do you think they should have got something here after the Rice lost last week? Like,
Hmm. Yeah,
there's
probably. Maybe they could have done it where like the people who make it to the
the
final
final three.
stage. Yeah.
Yeah, they get something, right? There's 9 of them still. It's not like we're down to the right at the
Maybe
end, and
they
there's
were
still
gonna maybe they were gonna do it, but then they're like, well, this isn't fair because Hunter is whichever team has Hunter is obviously just gonna win. So we'll try to keep it even. Maybe that's what they were thinking.
Gabe called me out and said, at least it was an hour before Chris mentioned the strengths of him last time. Yeah, I beat him. So I don't know if that did your betting or not, but yeah. And YouTube Bearcat making a really good point. Aussies would never survive 26 days on a beach with Venus and Q.
Oh my god.
That's also very true. That's worse than the crucifixions. So post challenge, we head back to the beach, and Kenzie, for some reason, throws out Tiff as a name, which Marie is happy to blindside. But again, she's like, "That's my move. I want that on my resume." What is with the resume building with this cast? Like, they're all
Yeah, I
about
don't.
resume, resume, resume.
We haven't really heard resume be brought up as much for a while. I feel like it was a big thing
Yeah,
in like the
like
30s with
significantly.
like with millennials versus Gen X. I remember it was a season where they talked about resumes like relentlessly. I feel like it became part of the Survivor vernacular, and then it sort of faded away a bit. But it seems to be back, and I think that this sort of it shows, people just want to be respected. Like they want to be like, I feel like I'm making moves in this game. People need to see that. If I just go along with this, they're not going to see it. And so I don't know how to feel. I'm a bit conflicted. I think that people should just, I don't know. I don't like the constant talk about resumes, but I do like that people are like, it's not enough for me to just stay in the game. I need to grab this game by the neck and control it.
Is that the way? Is that the right approach? Or maybe in a cast like this
But
season, it could be a better approach than
it might be a good thing right now because there's just a lot of attention being put on Q um, and Hunter. It probably would have been a good idea to force like Maria to take out Tiffany if it were her move. I understand she was conflicted because Kenzie was the one that came up with it, but if Maria had come up with it, taken out Tiffany, there's context. With this, there's Q and Hunter. Those are shields that
Hmm.
can next round. People might not be
Yep.
as as keen on taking out Maria. Oh, because she just made a big move. No, no, no. We need to take out Hunter because he's a challenge threat, and if we don't take him out now, he's going to win everything. Or Q because he is a just nuisance, to keep around and try to work with. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
context. There's context. I think this context was right to try to do something like this.
YouTube Aircat said that resume building is going to put pressure on players to the point of stupid power moves, i.e., Q. And
It could.
we're kind of seeing it. Like I think so far, like Liz, Venus pushing so hard and thinking that they're doing these moves is really protected by the fact that you mentioned Hunter and Q as shields. I think they are protected by the fact that Q is copying so much distraction. Like if Liz really wanted the attention from that move, like she would get it in the wrong way, I think, if Q wasn't there at the moment. Q is such a all-encompassing distraction from whatever anyone else is doing that, like, if Liz did get the appropriate credit for what she thought was Tevin and stuff, then she would be gone next, right? The only reason why she's not is because no one is giving her that credit. To me, anyway.
Yeah, I think we're gonna
You
have
don't
to
want to
see.
attract all the attention. Look how good I'm playing. Look what I'm doing.
Mhm. Yeah, it goes to show Survivor's hard, man. You can't just be, you cannot be at the very top the whole time. People take notice of that and will try to take you out. You have to, manage your threat level. I'm curious to see with Liz. I don't think we've really gotten like verbal confirmation that like they don't believe that that was her move. I think that it just happened to be overshadowed by an insane tribal council. Maybe they aren't giving her credit once again, but to me, I feel
Well,
like
I guess I'm still going off a couple weeks ago because the soda one,
mm,
like Tevin engineered that move, and
yeah,
but Liz was like, "What are you talking about? I've wanted soda out from the beginning."
mhm.
Like that was her move in her head, but she didn't actually do any of the mechanics. You know what I mean? So, I maybe that one, but I do think she had a bit more of a hand um, last week and this week as well. So
Yeah,
she's putting it out there, but I think she's just wanting so much of that credit. The resume is so big with these people.
it is.
Um, Kiwiska said they know it's time for making moves if you want to win at the end. But do you want to advertise it to everyone at that? Like, do you need to have that credit now, or can you say I made the move in final tribal council and then do the shock surprise thing? Or does at that point is it coming across as no, you didn't? Like that's the balance there as well, right? Like how much do you fly under the radar to then
Yeah,
claim it later, but people won't give you the credit for it down the road, or can you sort of convince people at the end there?
yeah.
I
I
guess this
mean,
comes down to me. They keep talking
it's
about resume, right?
mhm,
Resume versus the interview. I think the resume gets
yeah,
you in the door, but you got to nail the interview, right? The resume is just like I've done a lot of recruiting, and the resume, as long as it's like not filled with spelling errors and the experience matches somewhat, kinda,
mhm,
then it's really going to be the interview stage. How do you sell it? The resume doesn't matter if you can't talk it up, right?
yeah,
So I think you don't need to have all the credit at the start if you can do the convincing at the end. If you're good in
yeah.
that final tribal council and you know what you've done, then you can back it up, right? You can
Mhm.
if you got it all there. It's just they're so obsessed with this. Anyway, Hunter at this point he decides very smartly, I guess, because it caused absolute chaos to reveal his idol. Um, and I love that in this episode, the two main targets that the edit was giving us, both of them have idols. So Tiff
I know.
as a potential
I
one
know.
from Kenzie's side, Hunter as potential from has the idol as well. So and the fact that there was at least from what the edit was giving us, there was no clear cut plan going into tribal. We had a completely live tribal going in. with the two potential targets both having idols. By the way, I just realized that both of them having idols, Q had a strong alliance with Tevin with an extra vote and got rid of him. Tiff in his alliance with an idol. Hunter in his alliance with an idol. And Q is in the position that he's in right now.
Well, Q actually
Is
voted
that?
for Ben.
Yeah, he did. He did, but he was trying to
He
turn on
wanted he
Hunter in this
wanted
episode and
Hunter.
getting people
Yeah, that's
against.
true.
He
Yeah.
wanted Hunter. So, like, Q targeted Tiff last week, Kevin the week before, Hunter this week, all in his alliance, right? All in his alliance. The guy that said, you come for the 6, I'm taking you out. He's now, that's why he quits, right? That's why he quits. He's taking himself out for targeting his own 6. But talking about blowing a 30-point lead, holy crap. His closest alliance had all the advantages in the game. And instead of like using that to his advantage when you're protected by 3 people with advantages, I just realized how far Q has fallen. Like I didn't think he was in that good of a position because he's so out there. But when you think, like, look at the actual pieces, he was set up really good. It just came to me then. Like, what the hell?
Well, and I think it was shown when they didn't want to vote him out when he wanted to quit. He was a part of a lot of
Exactly.
people's plans. They
Wow.
wanted to work with him, and it's pretty bad from him. But I do want to say I really liked the sort of progression of the targets in this episode. It started out with Kenzie saying, "Oh, it's got to be Tiffany." Well, then Tiffany's
Yeah.
saying, "I'm going to play my idol. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
it anymore."
Very, very smart from Tiff.
And then they're like, "Okay, fine, it has to be Hunter." Then Hunter at the last second is like, "Well, I
have an idol.
also have an idol and I'm going to play it tonight, so please vote with me." And yeah, I think that it was pretty ballsy to go through with that Hunter vote, man. I mean, he said, I guess maybe they
You know
thought he
what?
was bluffing
Yeah.
about even having one.
He should have pulled it out though, right?
Definitely.
Like,
Yeah.
I know it's very difficult in the US Survivor because they have a key ring for an idol. They have like a little
Piece
one
of
that was made
string
at scout
with
camp
beads. Yep.
with beads on it. They're like, here's
Yep.
my idol. Yeah. In the Australian one, which it used to be the US one, you could go put it on and have it sitting there and looking all dope
very
and stuff. Like,
obvious.
check
Yeah.
out, I'm flexing my chain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just a move to be able to look, oh, I might have something here and put a necklace on. Instead, you're sitting there like, what do you do with it? Like, you put it on an earring or something, like the little dangly beads.
They're
Like,
so
it doesn't
dinky
have the same presence,
crazy.
but
No, it doesn't.
yeah, he could have at least shown it, right? Like, what?
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
understand. Like, why? He has revealed it. He said he has it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to prove it so that you don't get the votes. Like, what is the logic
Yeah, you do.
behind keeping it in his pocket?
And it's not even like the fact that, people might not believe that you have it, but like it's like a psychological thing when you take it out at tribal council and wear it around your neck. I know that's not really possible with this one, but when Ferris puts it, takes it out and
Exactly.
puts it around his neck just while somebody else is talking, at tribal
Just
council.
talking, just randomly. That's a move, right?
That's a move that sends a message of like, hey, I got something, and you better tread lightly. So, there were quite a few blunders from Hunter this episode.
Man.
I think
we
he just shouldn't have told anybody. I think you just play it.
Was he trying to get away with not using it? Like, obviously he was.
Yeah.
Like, he did.
Oh,
he did
yeah.
use it. But is that what he was trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
engineer? Because at this
Oh, yeah.
point, like, you got to get to the next day. You got to get to the next
Yeah.
day. We
I
went
think
into
that-
tribal though,
yeah.
starting out. We started out with a real, like, Jeff is, this episode's called Spicy Jeff. He was calling them out at the challenge, said Q, no chance. And then this time he's just like, I'm gonna keep on Q. He started out. I was like taken aback here when he said, look, I apologize. I was unprepared last episode, last tribal. I wasn't ready for what was going to happen, and I thought he was going to say, "I'm going to run this one very differently." Instead, Jeff goes on like just comedy bit here and
Yeah,
pulls out a cushion and popcorn, which is one of those things where I was like, it's cringe, like, but also I'm okay with it. It's funny. Like it's like I know his kids and his grandkids would have been going, "What are you doing?" Like that's not funny, but it kind of is the fact that he did it. You know what I mean?
it's funny because it's just you're engaging with the players. I felt
Yeah.
like that's sort of, and I think that it's also, just sort of making light of just the game, and just making it a little bit more fun. I think that Jeff, he got too soft for a while, and he got a little sassy, but then he also loves the players, so he is like, "Hey, you guys are so entertaining that I have to bring a cushion and popcorn," and he even gave him some popcorn. You know,
Yeah. By the way, popcorn was like a little tiny like
yeah,
side
Jeff.
dish.
Jeff,
Like
you're gonna
what?
finish. Yeah, Jeff, you're gonna finish that in like 30 seconds. Come on,
Even
bring
for
some more.
him, like
Yeah.
if he's gonna give it to anyone, they all got like one kernel each or something. And Liz, who hasn't eaten, I think that's why Liz was crying. By the way, it's just because she's starved. She's got no nutrition. She said she hasn't eaten
Oh,
for 72 hours. Last week,
yeah.
she said she hadn't pooped the entire time she was out there.
That's like, how has somebody not intervened, like medically? Like that's like really scary. Um, I think if you see on the next time on Survivor, Liz is like, it seems like she's having a bit of a breakdown of like.
Because she's starving and like
That's
internally
what I was
dying.
saying.
Her body is
Yeah,
eating
because
itself.
she says in the next time on, she's like, these people are driving me crazy. I'm like, no, I think your body is being driven crazy by lack of nutrition, Liz. you know, like I don't think the players are a
I
bit
wonder.
crazy, but I don't think that's the reason.
Look Frank said, what Jeff Loki wanted to feed Liz because she's allergic to everything. He's
Yeah,
like, "Are
he
you
seemed
allergic to popcorn?"
concerned. Yeah, he was concerned.
And Gabe says he gave them popcorn because they didn't get the rice 100%. Yeah, but it
Mm,
was literally like the bowl was
nothing.
so tiny and it didn't even look full. It wasn't like stacked in the bowl unless he ate it all already. He was like sitting there in the thing, but there wasn't much popcorn there at all. But yeah, I love that.
Oh,
I love that bit about the popcorn. And then while they're sort of talking, and like I said at the start, at this point, Ben told Jeff to his face, "You do not rock," which I love. He's mentioned rock like a million times. It's so crazy.
yeah.
But in this episode, when he's sort of talking and going through, like Tribal does turn live, but it's all in the whispers. And Hunter's looking at Charlie. He says to Charlie, "Tell Liz that it's Q." Like there's a lot of talk going back and forth. Kenzie's looking at Hunter, going, "Yep, I'm voting Q." Um, Charlie, by the way, I know it's like whispering in tribal council, but what they showed us in the edit, Hunter was like looking at him a lot, talking directly to him.
Mhm.
Charlie turned over to Liz, said Q, looks back at Hunter straight in his face, "We're good." Like they were lying to Hunter, like bold face really well as well. Like they kept that
Yeah.
under wraps. Now, my question for you, Jake, we ended up with the vote going 4-4
Mhm.
with a tie. Was
Four four
this,
one. Yeah.
yeah, 4-4-1 with Q voting for Ben? Like, what the hell
Okay.
there? He
Yeah.
could
Okay.
have guaranteed it immediately just by voting Hunter, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, because he thought he had an idol. Oh, he knows he has an idol. But Q doesn't have an idol. Like, I don't know
Yeah. It
what the
doesn't.
hell was
I know it
happening.
doesn't. The only reason you do that is if you have an idol. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one vote. Like, I don't
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah. All he did is like almost sent himself home if like somebody for some reason wanted to flip.
I have seen, however, people online saying that this was potentially actually an 8-person split vote.
We have no idea. I have no idea. I think it really seemed like Liz at the very least was like dead set on Q. Like I don't think Liz wanted to vote out Hunter, and I think she voted for Q. Let me double check. Yes, she did vote for Q. She voted for Q both times, so she did. She
Dolores
wanted
says
Q.
she voted for Q, yeah. And she won that move, and she wants it really bad. Dolores
Yeah,
has joined us as crap. I'm super late. I see Kahuna Factor continues. Yeah. Dawson saying hello, hello.
dastardly.
So yeah, welcome,
Come
Dolores.
on. What's up with the
Dastardly.
dastardly? Dastardly handsome?
It's a nice descriptor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
I don't think
Thank
those two words have ever been put together in the English language, but
you. Has a nice ring
um,
to it.
yeah. So despite all the chaos, despite Hunter knowing that he was very much a target, he did try really hard to get reassurance. I think he relied on his read. It was a wrong read, but I don't think he just sort of sat smugly confident. He was looking around a lot. He was speaking. He was getting eye contact with Charlie. He was trying, and he made a very wrong call, which means they played it really well. But you have to play your idol, right? Like what is going through his head there?
I mean, it's
He
greed.
he said he had
It's
it,
greed.
he's got it, and then doesn't do it.
Yeah, I think it's greed. I mean, he knows that his name is out there, right? I mean, he knows that like he's like just conventionally the target if he doesn't win that challenge. Especially after his closest ally was just voted out. So there's all it is greed, and I think hey, theoretically it would have been an incredible move if he somehow got the target off of him and got away with not playing his idol, but that's just not how it works on Survivor very often. Sometimes you just got to take a win of like, I'm playing my idol, I'm making it to the next round, especially when you're a guy like Hunter who can just basically win out. You kind of just have to take it. And he didn't. And I think also if he did survive, would have been I just can't handle personally if I'm the one who has to reassure Hunter over and over and over and over and over and over again at Tribal. I mean, he probably looked back at Kenzie 10 times and over
Yeah.
to Charlie or,
Yeah.
or whoever like 10 times, like would have driven me crazy. Like at one point, I probably would have been like, okay, it wasn't going to be you, but it is now. Okay, so just shut up.
Well, we saw him at camp doing the maths in the sand. He was doing the drawing, and he was like, carry the radioactive spider, carry the Q, and he was doing all the maths in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept like, at least what they showed us is that the conclusion was, I have to play it. Like he said, and if you vote and they vote down, I have to play it. Like he was drawing it, and he said it. They gave us all of that. When I met with Chris last night, of course we're going to talk about Survivor, and he said, "Can you bring this up on the podcast? Because I think this is a very good point." He goes, "The way he should have done it." And when Chris said that, I was like, "You're right. If he really wants to keep that idol and have that chance, he's got a freaking the dice. What's it called? The dice roll thing. Oh my god, I just blanked.
Shot
the
in the
last
dark?
chance. The shot in the dark." Oh my god. So he still had a shot in the dark. He goes, what you do is you play the shot in the dark. And then you keep an idol if it wins. And if it misses, then you play the idol out. He's actually got 2 shots at surviving here. And with a shot of keeping the idol. He didn't need his vote. Like he could have just used a shot in the dark, saved himself, didn't work, play the idol because you don't have a vote anyway. Like,
yeah, that's
he
a good
had
point.
options for sure.
I didn't even think of that. That's very true. The only thing is like that the only scenario where you would want to do that is like if your vote really matters, because you have to give up your vote to use the shot in the dark. And did Hunter think that his vote like really mattered? Like if he, risks his vote for a shot in the dark, is that going to ruin the plan? I don't really think, if you're thinking
Doesn't
about playing
matter
the
at that
shot in the
point,
dark,
right?
I don't think right.
Yeah.
So I think I agree with that.
I thought that was a really clever play. Like I was just like, play the idol, but to add that level of where you potentially have a chance to keep it as well. Like, why wouldn't you take that shot?
Yeah.
So Unfortunately, he doesn't. So many people in the season going home with idols in their pocket. I don't know if it's what the stats are record wise, but it seemed like a lot
It's
of
been 2 so
yeah.
far.
Is that in one season? Is that a lot?
I think we saw that in 41 as well. Did you watch 41, Kahuna?
Yeah, that was Erica. Yeah, that was the season
Yeah.
I watched, and then I skipped out on 42, 43.
Yeah, so I believe Brad, the like old, really tall rancher guy, I believe he had an idol in
Right.
his pocket when he was voted out. Then Nasir also had an idol in
We
his
did
pocket
have
when he voted.
Randon in this one as well,
Yeah, but that's not, he didn't get voted out.
but he did have an idol in his pocket.
He did. So technically it's 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, 41 had 2 as well. Um, did we have any last season? Bruce.
I can't remember, man. I'm not that level.
Bruce.
Oh, Bruce, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. But yeah, like so
People just don't really play
despite
their idols anymore.
yeah, it's really weird, especially considering how chaotic the last tribal was, how unpredictable Q makes everything. And when you look around, he should know how tense it is with Venus. Like I know he was very, very adamant that he had Tiff, and Tiff was the one that flipped and kind of got him. But he knew about Tiff's idol, right? Everyone knew about Tiff's idol at that point. It would have got around. Q told
Hunter?
him. Q was part of the yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think everyone knows at this point.
Everyone knows. So I would be like, I know Tiff, like, I guess it's hard to think in this way, but Tiff obviously did a great job. And I can say this post because I see what happened. But Tiff voted Hunter in order to get the attention away from her and keep her idol. Like,
Yeah,
she got to do that without playing the idol. But
yeah,
Hunter didn't anticipate that at all. Like, I'd be like, if she's got an idol, I can. Um, am I back? I'm back. I don't know what's
yeah. You're
going
cutting out a bit.
today. I'm sorry, folks, but yeah, like I feel like he should have not trusted that Tiff voted with him when she's the other target there with an idol.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Somebody in the comments, I think it's pretty far up at this point. I think it was Sarah who said, I was talking about Hunter being greedy by trying to, shift the target off of himself by saying he's going to play the idol and then not playing it. And I was like, oh, you just can't do that. Well, Tiff basically
Tiff did it,
just did that. She did do
but
it.
she was only able to do it because Hunter was there, right?
Because Hunter was there, and Hunter, nobody. The only reason that people are targeting Tiff really is because of the idol at this point. Whereas Hunter just oozes threat, and it's just like the conventional wisdom is you vote this guy out the first chance you get. I guess you just take the risk if he has an idol. But still, props to Tiff for holding on to it after all that.
Well, that's why I think it may have actually been an orchestrated split vote, because you're right. Hunter is the conventional vote. They want him gone. They're happy to keep Q around, I guess, for because he's not a threat, even though he's annoying and they don't want to work with him. But Hunter has an idol. They all know that. He said it. He called it. So if Hunter has an idol, let's split the vote on Q. If Hunter plays his idol, Q goes home. If Hunter doesn't play his idol, we revote and Hunter goes. Like I want. Although they couldn't have anticipated Q does the bend thing, right? I don't know. That's weird.
I think.
But
Well, they could
I
have.
feel
They
like
could have
it's
been
so
trying to split it. They
convenient
could
that
have been
Tiff
trying
and
to split
Kenzie
it 4
split.
3. Yeah. You still. I think you might have cut out.
Okay, just keep
You
chatting.
there?
Keep talking.
There you go. I think that it could have been a 4-3 because I'm not sure that Liz was really in on this. She seemed to like just genuinely want Q out specifically. Whereas usually when you do a split vote, you have one person that is the main target, and then it's like, but if we can't get him, then I guess we'll settle with them. But Q or Liz like wanted Q.
Q.
And I think it just sort of ended up being a tie because of Q. You know, um, voting Ben for some reason. I'm not entirely sure what that was about. Um, but yeah, I think given that we see everybody but Liz voted Hunter on the revote, I think that shows that it was a split.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
agree. So what we end up with is Hunter going home. Q's still in the game. Tiff still has an idol, so she's looking good at the moment. But I'm pretty sure she's gonna have to play it next week. Now that she's got it, she's easily gonna have the target shifted to her. Um, but maybe it shouldn't be because they know she's got it and she can play it easily. I don't know. But anyway, we now end up with, as I said at the start, 3-3-2. Nami blowing the lead, 3 Siga, 3 Yanu, who all hate each other. Well, Kenzie's turning on Tiff. They both hate Q. There doesn't seem to be any cohesion at all going around except for Marisha and Ben looking pretty good. So we
Yeah.
started a season of Survivor with 6 episodes at least where we were just, this is crap. We saw some of the worst play ever. We're now sort of having a season where it's interesting, it's fascinating, it's fun, it's drama, but it's not necessarily good gameplay, right?
No, no, it's not. It's not. I wouldn't say like the gameplay of this episode was, I think, pretty high level. Sort of the reverse psychology of like, will he, won't he? Play the idol. Same with Tiff. Like sort of like the last second plans changing. Having to reassure Hunter at Tribal Council. I think that there was some pretty. It was pretty well done by a few people. I would say specifically Kenzie. Um, it seems like Charlie as well was sort of taking a part of consistently reassuring Hunter, and then Tiff as well. Um, Very ballsy play to not play the idol there. Um, I think that Q has sort of maybe tainted the gameplay this season, by just being the way he is. But I think there's some good players this season, and I think that we could be in for some good move, even better moves in the future as well.
I certainly hope so. First of all, I want to send a quick shout out to Tom McPherson, co-host of Nullified Take for Australian Summer. Tom, and he said that people are playing too emotionally. Q's a goat now. Don't target goats, you human potatoes. That's what Tom's
Yeah,
what the
well,
spicy takes as well.
it's good that Q didn't go home.
YouTube Bearcat calling. I was just thinking what a final trouble it would be with Q, Tiff, and Kenzie. Yanu actually getting to the final 3 would be insane.
That would be
So
insane because people are going to be like, "Well, Kenzie, you tried to take out Tiff. What happened?" You know?
yeah, especially considering their start, right? That these 3 were like it's almost like the Carson Caroline Yam Yam. Like they were just
Mhm.
completely decimated in the pre-merge, and then the small tribe managed to sneak their way to the end, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like it would be really impressive. At this point, people have mentioned Kenzie as a winner. I think Maria and Charlie potentially looking good. Who have you got in this game?
I think my front runner right now is Kenzie. I would say Tiff, but clearly, Kenzie's a step ahead of her. I think that you know Kenzie's probably right. I think Maria actually said this. Kenzie knows Tiffany's going to want to take her out at some point. She's trying to do it before she can.
Anticipate.
You know,
Too early though.
anticipate that. I think
Like,
I don't know. I mean, Kenzie seems to be working pretty well with Ben. Maybe that can sort of get her in the club with Maria and Charlie as well. So maybe she loses an ally, she gains a couple more. I
yeah,
don't
but
know,
she gets to the final 4 with them.
but
She's not cracking that 3. She's not taking one of them out. You know what I mean? Like going getting
could
rid of
be.
your one alliance member at 9
Hmm.
was ballsy from Kenzie. I don't like that move. Like she's already cut off Q. She might feel like she's close with Ben, because they had that moment. But in this episode anyway, Ben was all up in Charlie and Maria's business. Like he was, like Kenzie told him something and he went and told them immediately, right? Like he ran and told Maria
Yeah,
and Charlie. Like this episode looked like Ben's way closer with the Seeger than
I
whatever
think so.
relationship Kenzie has with him, you know? So
Could be. Yeah. But other than Kenzie, I think Charlie probably. I think
Charlie,
Charlie's.
do you
Yeah.
think Charlie's looking better than Maria? I think he's getting more of an edit. He's got the
I think
relationships.
sometimes, yeah, you can sort of conflate those two. But yeah, in terms of gameplay, maybe they're pretty equal. Yeah, maybe it's the edit that's sort of putting a cloud in there, making me think that it's Charlie who's better. But maybe it is more equal in terms of just purely looking at the gameplay. Um, but yeah, if it's not either of those two, and if it's not Kenzie, I would be very shocked.
I
Like
think
I
the
just
only other outsider you mentioned three. I think the Tiff is potentially in it, except she's got
yeah,
such a big target, but
yeah,
she's got to be the other potential option there. And if she does get to the end, I think she's got a good chance at convincing and stuff. So she seems very, you know, I
yeah,
think Kenzie's argument will be not argument, but I think she'll come off as too nice for a final tribal, whereas Tiff will be a lot more assertive and be able to say what she's done in a very argumentative, convincing way. You know, like
yeah.
if Kenzie and Tiff go head to head at all, and it
Mm.
comes down to talking, the two approaches will be Kenzie will be very nice and soft, and Tiff will be very assertive and direct. And it'll be interesting to see which of those two sort of go through. Maria, when you're right, the edit is not giving us much of Maria at this point, so I'm not sure um, if we can expect that. But Charlie's certainly got the edit. Charlie's got the relationships. Outside of that, again, if we get the final three of like a Liz, Venus, and Q, or any combination of, it's just going to be so fascinating to watch.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
yeah.
like, okay, spin on the question: who do you think will win versus who do you want to win at this point? Who are you rooting for in a tribe like this?
That's a good one because the chaos that would ensue if Q won, I think would be incredible. I mean, things would have
Do
to
you
happen
want that?
for that to
You would be
happen.
happy to have your game of Survivor sullied with such a undeserving winner at this point, just for the chaos, just for the
You
lols,
know, I
the
yeah.
meme worthiness of it.
Hey, I mean, am
Yeah,
I crazy for saying that?
I don't think so. I
No.
guess
Okay, good.
like like I said earlier, I think it's possible to have entertaining and good gameplay. I am impressed and I like when I see really good gameplay. I go like I like it and it can be entertaining as well. This is a
Mhm.
different type of entertaining. So I would prefer if I was entertained with good gameplay from multiple angles. We see everyone playing the right moves, doing the right thing, and then it becomes the best against the best. I don't like when it's like it especially with the breakdown now where we mentioned four people and then four people that really don't have much of a shot at all. It's like the Harlem Globetrotters in the Washington Generals to me. And that's not as much of a fun game to watch, if you know what I mean. I like
Yeah.
to see when it's even. So I wish there was more competent players across the board that could actually go at each other. And when we're going who could win, we could say literally anyone. But right now we're going, there are four players here that are clearly not in the game. And if they do win the game, it would be like by default or by some weird circumstance where they end up together and there's no choice but to give it to them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well, could maybe we could throw maybe do you think it's disrespectful to put Ben in the group with Q, Liz, and
no,
Venus? You don't think so? I think that's a little
no.
bit disrespectful. I think that Ben is at least like pretty well respected by everybody.
Actually, I think he's well liked. and I do
Yeah.
think that that there's a difference there for me. So that's why I'm not putting him there as far as respecting his strategic gameplay, but I do think he can be a threat in the game because of his social and how much everyone seems to absolutely love the man. So you're right that he's not in the same. He's like, if we were to tier list them, he would be above them, but still not with that top group to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I could see a world where Ben wins. Let's put it that way.
I mean, if he's up against any combination of Liz, Venus, and Q, like like I said, he
Yeah,
would
well,
absolutely win
yeah, for sure. He wins by default, I think,
by
if
default.
he's in there. But
Yeah.
even maybe he could win with I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of well, actually no, there's a lot of Nami on the jury, not Siga. I was
Danica
gonna say
nailed
there's
here.
a
I'm
lot of
now on board. I'm now on board. I want Ben to win now.
true
Okay, now I want Ben to win so he can say how much winning rocks.
winning Survivor rocks. I mean, he's not
I
wrong.
just imagine. I know what's going to happen if he wins too. He's either going to bust out an air like he'll do that, or he'll like some sort of
Yeah,
rock. Like he'll
he
be
would definitely
headbanging for
do.
sure.
He would definitely do air guitar if he won, and Jeff would be like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
Okay, now I'm in. Danica convinced me. I want. I want Ben to. That's who I'm backing now. Ben for sure. Just to see the winner come out of that. Like,
Yeah,
or you know what the other thing would be, which would be fun if Q did win. Like you said, the absolute chaos of it and how crazy it would be. I just want him to get up there and say, "All of you can cancel Christmas now." Like this man hates Christmas for some reason. He's just canceling Christmas.
every
Like
episode.
every episode. Last episode was 3 times he canceled Christmas. This
Yeah,
and he brought it out again this episode.
yeah,
He's
he
like, they
did.
can cancel Christmas.
It's like,
I'm telling you, man, it's a
what if
war
they
on
want to?
Christmas. They
Yeah,
don't want us to say Christmas anymore. It's happy holidays.
yeah. Q
It's,
wants to. Yeah, Q
Q's
will not
canceling
let
Christmas.
us. Yeah, Q is forcing us to say Happy Holidays, and it's sickening.
Yeah. This is America.
Yeah,
It's Christmas.
come on.
Uh,
Everyone said Q is the Grinch.
Q is secretly the Grinch. You see Q at the end. He's like, he hates Whoville. Kenzie's Lucy Lucy what's in
Yeah,
Lou? Yeah, whatever.
yeah.
It's Kenzie for sure. There you go. Q must really hate Sansa. So we we ended up in an episode with most of it was the fallout from Q's debacle last week. This
Mhm.
week we see Hunter completely missing with not playing his idol. So again, entertaining for sure. Great episode. I had a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun breaking down with you, Jake, as well. But we're not seeing the competence that I want from this show. And I'm hoping with 8 coming through to the end, we might see some really good gameplay now, especially starts getting tight. So who's going out next week, you reckon? Who's in danger now?
That's a good question. I think it could be Liz, maybe. I
Liz.
don't know.
Yeah. From what angle?
Because
Is she a threat? Is she annoying people? Is she just not part of their plans?
it's not part. I feel like just not part of the plans. I mean, or maybe Venus finally. People
Who
are
is
kind of
Liz
sick of
actually
it.
with? Who is Liz with in this game?
That's a good question.
No one, right? We really only
So
have Marie and
maybe they won't
Charlie.
even get rid of her. Yeah.
Marie and Charlie with Ben as a third, but we know that Marie and Charlie is the duo,
Mhm.
and Ben's kind of just a tag on because he got green at the start. And then we have Kenzie and Tiff, who Kenzie has already turned on, and someone said to Kenzie that Tiff's going to turn on her at some point as well. Or Maria was saying that Tiff's probably going to have to do that at some point as well. So they are not together, but I still feel like they are, even though they voted separately this episode. So I don't know. Like, it's so weird to be 8 left and so few alliances.
I think that we could see Maria go. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think that people are going to want to
Mm.
split. I think people will try to split up Charlie and Maria, and the
Yeah,
other side
we're
will
all
probably try
individuals
to,
now. None of us have alliances. You can't have one either.
yeah, because they know like, well, we don't really need to split up Kenzie and Tiff because that's already broken. I mean, Kenzie's already going after her, and I think that you're right that I think Tiffany is going to settle for just playing her. You know, she's like, I got away with it
Play
one
idol.
time.
Yeah.
I'm going to play my idol this time for real.
The thing is, as
You
well,
know,
like Tiff was giving those talks about not wanting the idol to the confessional,
mm,
right? She was saying, "This is, I don't want this. I want to throw it away." Like she
yeah,
wasn't just saying it to the people; she was saying it to confessionals, which is what when you're supposed to be honest. Um, so she didn't play it, but I genuinely believed her when she said, "I don't want this. Like it is too much of a target." So
I
maybe
did
she will
too.
just play it
Yeah,
for the sake of it. So,
yeah.
but we are going to end it there. An hour 26. I always do that. But Jake, thank you, sir. Anything else to add? Did I miss anything?
No, I think you got everything, Kahuna.
Tom in the chat is inviting everyone to his wedding with Venus, except for Gabe, of course. So I do want to thank everyone in the chat: Dolores, Kiwi Skirt, Gabe, Tom, Jay, Daryl, of course, Chris, everyone, Kiwi Skirt, Danica. Thank you, everyone. We love you. Sarah, you make it so much better. Char Dude was here earlier. YouTube Bearcat, Nunez, Georgette Sparks. Everyone just makes this so much more fun when we do it. So I appreciate all of you. Of course,
Absolutely.
we will be back next week. If you do like this live, if you do like the channel, subscribe, please. Don't worry, like Chris is going to be back next week, so it'll be fine. The Kahuna factor is only short lived. Chris will be back next week, so we're going to be good. But do make sure you like and subscribe. We got challenge coming up next week. We got episode 10 of Survivor. But until then, I think Chris says grab your torches, head back to camp. Catch you in the next episode. Peace.